Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh. I am the fantasy football buff, and welcome to the channel that is dedicated to the art of Dynasty Fantasy Football. I'm here again with my guy, Noah. And guys, if you're new, first of all, welcome. This is the channel that is dedicated to Dynasty Fantasy Football. Like I said, if you're looking for trade evaluations, if you're looking for some rookie hype, if you're looking for some situational strategy, this is the channel for you. All right, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, join the crew, because today we're going to be talking about free agents. Guys, no one cares in your Dynasty League if you make a trade after news releases, right? No one's going to win their league because they waited until everything was squared away before they made some Dynasty moves. These moves that you're going to make right now between the end of the season and between the NFL draft is what is going to give you that step ahead of everyone else in your league. React before everyone else gets the chance to react. And we're going to talk about it today, right? We are going to talk about that today. So without further ado, let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking to join a Dynasty League, look no further, right? If you're in a situation where you've been interested in Dynasty, wanted to join a league, but didn't know where to go, well, we have an answer for you, man. All you got to do is subscribe to this channel and join our Discord crew, man. Jump on the Discord, DM me personally, because I will be setting up Dynasty Followers Leagues after the NFL Draft, where we're going to link up 10 to 12 guys who all love Dynasty. We're going to set up a Discord channel for your individual league, and we're going to have prizes for the winners, man. It's something you're not going to want to miss out. Subscribe, join the Discord, DM me to get on that wait list, because as soon as May rolls around and the NFL draft happens, we're going to be popping off on these startup drafts. Noah, what's good, man? How are you?
Dude, long time no talk.
Seriously, man.
It's been a long time of me just pondering my own fantasy questions.
What have you been
Go ahead.
pondering, man? What fantasy questions have been on your mind? Here,
Dude, you know me. I just roll through my roster, and just for perspective, my roster is extremely young.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3 top 12 picks this year. I got the second, the 11th, and the 12th.
Yeah.
And then I have I got 5 total picks. I got two rookie running backs from last year's, Clyde and Akers.
Yeah.
I got CeeDee Lamb, Pittman. You know, I got Saquon coming back. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I want to make a move. I know I want another pick, but I don't. Everyone just ignores me when I offer them trades. I just get ignored. I just wish they would just decline.
Yeah.
Like if they didn't want the trade, I just decline it, or hit me with a counter, or just say I don't want to trade right now. You know, just give me something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Instead, I'm just sitting in limbo thinking I'm crazy for valuing this player the way I play.
Honestly, the majority of the time, that person probably didn't even see the trade, right? Or they're in the middle of something, saw the notification, they just blew you off. That drives me crazy. It drives me crazy.
I get a notification from Sleeper, and I'm like,
out.
What's happening?
Something's
Who's
going
made
on.
a move? I want to know.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So that's been the main thing. You know, I'm struggling in between. Dude, I really struggle what to do with Clyde. I really do, because I'm like, what's his ceiling? And his ceiling, like Andy Reid said last year, is Brian Westbrook. It's like, okay, if that's his ceiling, cool.
That's
obviously
a pretty high ceiling.
It's a super high ceiling. And his floor, I think his floor is kind of like a Danny Woodhead guy.
Sure.
I think at worst, that's what he kind of
terrible, right? Still a PPR.
No, not at all. Not
RB2, right? Yeah.
You know, and so I think how more or less is he going to be different than James White?
Interesting.
And I think that's a really good comparison for him, at least after this first year.
Yeah.
And so I think about it. I go, is Clyde the type of running back that you can keep on your roster for like 7 years because he offers PPR value for so long as a third down back? Even like a Darren Sproles, you could keep on your roster for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even as they get into their late 20s. I go do it. It's just something that I
So
want
to play a devil's advocate, I do think Clyde has so much more upside than just being that PPR guy, right? Like I understand his floor, but I do think he has the ability and will get to the point where he is seeing much more carries
and
than a Darren Sproles and a James White, right?
and
I
that's
that's what I
where
expect to happen.
and that's what I agree. And the Chiefs' offensive line. I mean, we can talk about the Super Bowl if you want. I have heavy takes to make on the Super Bowl.
Oh, dude, we'll have to
Um,
do that another time. I mean, now's the time to do it, but we also got to talk about some free agents. But real quick, man, give me one of your hot Super Bowl takes. I want to hear it.
oh, Bucks big. Bucks by
Yeah.
2 possessions.
Wow, 2 possessions.
Yeah,
That's interesting. That's really
yeah.
interesting. Do you think Antonio Brown plays? Do you think it
I
matters?
have not. I have not read the reports. It does matter. It
Oh,
does matter
interesting. Yeah.
because the best way to beat the Chiefs is to be able to run the ball efficiently.
Yep.
And if you want to be able to run the ball efficiently, the Bucks need to have you got to be I mean, even with the depleted offensive line that the Chiefs have, I mean, the
Yeah.
comparison to where they were last year, the Chiefs are kind of in shambles.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
It
to
doesn't
be able
matter,
to beat the
man.
Chiefs,
When you
you
have
got to
Patrick Mahomes, when you have
exactly.
Tyreek Hill, it doesn't matter.
And you got to Travis. I mean,
Travis
Travis
Kelce.
Kelsey,
Yep.
McCole Hardman can go off at any time.
Yep.
It's just a matter of opportunity. And so I think Antonio Brown has to play, but as long as Vita Vea's in the line, I mean, I think the Bucks defense is more well equipped to handle him this time than last time. But it's
It
still
was a
Tyreek
close
Hill, still
game.
Travis Kelsey.
It
Oh,
was a
well, I
close
mean,
game
yeah,
last time around, man.
did not start out well for the
Yeah.
Bucks.
Well, that's
You
been
know,
the
they've
Bucks'
got-
whole season, though. They're starting to connect. They're starting to come together.
know,
And I love that
I
we're
know.
talking about the Bucks because they have so many guys on this free agency list. So let's kick it off on that direction. Guys, as we all know, on this channel, our main goal is to give you actionable advice. Him and I are going to have a discussion. You're going to be able to go toward your Dynasty League and make moves or not make moves regarding on the advice we give you. I'm not Adam Schefter, right? I don't know what these NFL teams are going to do. I can say that, yes, I would love to see another wide receiver land for the Packers. I don't know if that's going to happen, right? We're not here to predict a landing spot. All Noah and I are going to do today is talk about individual players who are free agents coming into this offseason, what their range of outcomes are, and what we would do with them, right? If we think their value is going to skyrocket after free agency, now's the time to go buy. If we think they're going to leave and land in a worse place, maybe you hold off. Maybe you try to sell. That's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. And we're going to go through each position. And to kick that all off, man, we're going to start with quarterbacks. Let's quickly go through it. First of all, Noah, do you have the list of top projected cap space in 2021?
Yes, I do. Do you want me to read them off to you?
Yeah, can you read off? I'll put them on the screen for the people once we get there, but can you read off the top 18 teams or whatever it is? Yeah, this is from Spot Track, right? Or whatever it's called.
It is Spot Rack more so.
I like it.
SPOTRAC.com.
I like it.
And I'm gonna break them down into tiers because that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So in the $60+ million tier,
Yeah.
you have the Jags at the most $69 million. You got the Jets second most $65 million. And then you got the Colts actually at $68 million.
Interesting.
So let me do it this way.
That's good
Yeah,
to know.
so it's actually Jags, Colts, Jets are the top three,
Okay.
$60+ million each. And then I'm
Some
disregarding the Saints because on here it says they only got 6 players signed, and but they have $58 million.
Okay, but again,
and then the
only
next
6
tier,
players under contract.
yes, so that would include Michael Thomas and so on and so forth.
Kamara, Breeze.
The next
Breeze is on that
1,
list.
2, 3, 4, 5 teams are the 25 million and up teams.
Okay.
That would be the Patriots at $58 million. You would have the Bengals at $35 million. So I guess I could have grouped the Patriots with the team up, but Bengals at 35, Washington football team at 33. The Bucks have $28 million, and then the Dolphins have $25 million, and then the Chargers down at $23 million. But I will say, because of COVID, the cap usually rises, inflation, all this stuff, but this year due to COVID, the cap is kind of taking a downward trajectory. So there are currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 teams that are projected to be over the cap or negative cap. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see.
Well, let's start with quarterbacks, right? And I want to quickly have a much higher discussion with you, Noah, when it comes to quarterbacks, because I think there's going to be so much change in the NFL this upcoming offseason, right? We have 5 potential new quarterbacks coming into the NFL in the first round, right? 5 potential new quarterbacks coming in. Then we have this list of free agents or players who are insisted on being traded. And then we have teams, potential landing spots, right? I'm going to name them off for you. Washington needs a quarterback. The Bears likely need a quarterback. Trubisky is not under contract going into the season. The Giants could use a quarterback upgrade. The Jets maybe address it in free agency. The Jags, there's no one guarantee they draft Trevor Lawrence. They probably will, but there's no guarantee. The Broncos, the Niners, the Patriots, the Steelers, and the Colts. That's 10 teams that could use a new quarterback, right? 10 teams that could use a new quarterback. So let's kick it off with a conversation about a free agent that just got signed, man, a trade that blew my mind, right? Matthew Stafford, right? Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams, and the Lions get a haul for this man, right? They get 2 first-round picks, they get another pick, and they get Jared Goff. Right now, from the Lions, I think the Lions definitely they came out on top on this in this trade, right? In my opinion, you don't think so? Okay, I'll give my take and then I'll hand it to you because I love Matthew Stafford. The man's a baller. He's so disrespected, and for the Rams, the man's only 33 years old, right? He's not that old. Everyone thinks he's as old as Aaron Rodgers. He's only 33. Brady's 10 years older than him, right? He still has plenty of time in the league. He struggled with injury, and they gave up a lot to get him. But for the Rams' perspective, it's a great for them to win now, right? I do think this improves the whole offense. I think this makes Cam Akers better because he'll see more goal line work because the chances will be in the red zone more often. It helps Cooper Kupp. It helps Bobby Trees as
Robert
well.
Woods. Yep.
Yeah, but from the Lions' perspective, they get 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff. So they have a young quarterback, and I don't think there's any guarantee that they don't draft somebody, right? I don't think there's any guarantee that, let's say, Zach Wilson somehow miraculously lands to them in the first round. I think they have the 7th, 8th overall pick in this draft. I would not be surprised if they draft Zach Wilson and kind of have a small QB competition and go from there. But anyways, the Rams do not care about first round picks, man. They're shipping them out to get players they want. And you know what? I have a hard time arguing against that strategy just because of the players, the talent they're able to acquire. But I don't know, man. What are your thoughts here on this trade and the potential fantasy implications of it?
After this trade, the Rams don't have a first round pick in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because they drafted Jared Goff, and then they traded a bunch away for Jared Goff. They traded a bunch for Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
Then they traded now for Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
The Rams have always been, I mean, think of it this way. How much scarier are the Rams going into Green Bay this year if Matthew Stafford's the quarterback and not Jared Goff?
Absolutely.
Who was a complete liability. I mean, He couldn't do anything in that offense without having Sean McVay in his ear going, hey, this is what we need to call here. Check to this, Yep. And think, like, he couldn't think. There was no thinking by himself there.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford's extremely durable. He's had some injuries, but I mean, like, the dude is tough. He'll play through pretty much anything that he can.
Yeah.
And that's what you want in a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And you can't tell me that Matthew Stafford's not tired of losing.
Absolutely.
He just wants to go. He's made the money. He was the last, before the new collective bargaining agreement, he was the last rookie that got signed to that first overall pick that got the massive payday. Mm-hmm. That, like, when rookies were just getting paid huge dollars. I mean, like $100 million type contracts, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's made the money. It's not about the money. It is about winning and feeling satisfied within his NFL career.
Yep.
He gets to go work with, he can make any throw.
Absolutely.
Secondly, he gets to work with a beautiful offensive mind in Sean McVay, who wants to run the ball, but wants to get guys open creatively, but can only scheme up so many things because then the quarterback at some point's got to take over on the field.
Yep.
The Lions get the benefit of having a 2022 first round pick and a 2023 first round pick. Those picks, if you're the Rams, you got to be thinking are going to be in the high 20s.
Yeah.
So for me personally, if I'm the Rams, I'm like, I got no problem giving away 2 high 20 picks to lock up my quarterback for at least the next 3 years. As long as we win 1 Super Bowl or make 1 Super Bowl, it's okay.
I think they're serious contenders now, man. I really do. From a dynasty perspective, he is currently ranked in Fantasy Pros as the dynasty quarterback 15. Again, the man's only 33 years old. And like you said,
is that updated post trade? Or
I believe it is. I believe it is because I already have the little blurb there. One quick player that they have ranked over him, right? Because they have Jalen Hurts and Tua ranked over him. And I understand that, right? I understand the rookies. I understand their potential. But they have Baker Mayfield ranked over him. And me personally, when it comes from a fantasy perspective, I understand that Baker's only 25 years old. But if you do play with this mentality of, I am looking to win over the next 2 to 3 years, that's the window that you look at for your team. I don't care about what's going to happen in 10 years from now. I want to make sure my roster is going to be solid in the next 3 years. I think Matthew Stafford fits that philosophy perfectly, man. He's a huge buy for me. I don't know if you can acquire him. I still think the general consensus on Matthew Stafford is that he's old, is that he's washed, and that he's injury prone. I really do think if you were to grab the casual dynasty player off the street, what are your thoughts on Matthew Stafford? Like, he's old. He hurts his back a lot. I don't think that's the case. I think you can get him from decently cheap right now, and I think he can easily be a top 12 fantasy quarterback in the next 2-3 years. Easily, man. Easily. I don't know. What are your thoughts here? Do you see that same upside? Because Jared Goff did it, and there's no doubt in my mind that Matthew Stafford's a better fantasy quarterback, a better quarterback in general, but a better quarterback than Jared Goff.
If there was somehow I could trade someone on my team or like do what the Rams did and trade away like 2 first-round picks type of thing to get
first-round picks to get Matthew Stafford.
I would highly consider it because, dude, you know my team.
I don't think you need to. I don't think you would need to, but I think you could. Yeah, if you want to make.
But I'm saying in terms of that mindset. Where I could, or I give up even if I give up all my next year's draft picks, I'll give you 1, 2, and 3. I'll just not draft next year, and I get my quarterback now this year, and I get to keep all my picks.
Yeah,
that's something I'm extremely interested in because I get a quarterback that I know is going to be good right now. Yeah. I get 2 prime quarterbacks between Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford. I would have Saquon. I would have whatever rookies I draft plus all the rookies. I'd CD Lamb type thing. And you're going to get 3 or 4. And here's the thing. Like me and you have gone back and forth you've been trying to trade me Joe Burrow, try to get the second pick. We've been in discussion. And I want to buy quarterbacks that either A, are foolproof, Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers type of thing, Trevor Lawrence, doesn't matter where he goes. He goes to the Jets and you're like, dude, I'm sure. Well, who cares? But other than that, I want quarterbacks that are on specific teams and have specific philosophies behind them. Yeah. I want to when I'm buying a quarterback, I'm buying into the coaching staff. Like, for example, if they would have just said, like, we're going to try to roll with Goff 2 more years, Goff was a buy low candidate for me this offseason. If I could somehow give even just like, I have the 20th pick. If I could even just give up the 20th pick just to get Jared Goff, if he was still at the Rams.
Okay. Yeah.
So
not because of him, but because of the offense.
Because of the offense he plays in. Okay. Now, Matthew Stafford plus where Jared Goff was, I think next year he probably is going to – who finishes higher than him? Mahomes?
Yeah. I could see Josh Allen in that conversation. I could see Desean Watson, depending on landing spot, Kyler Murray.
But again, I think Matthew Stafford has a chance to beat all those guys in this offense.
He could.
Because I think that's how good this offense is, and Matthew Stafford can literally make any throw.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what his pass attempts are. I know for Jared Goff, they started to become this run-first team again. But, with his efficiency and with that arm and with the offensive weapons, my only concern for him from a fantasy perspective, he doesn't really offer much of a rushing floor. But like you said, he's in that same conversation as an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady, who it doesn't matter if they're going to rush because they're going to throw for 35-plus touchdowns at the end of the season, right, which will put them in that same category. I totally could see it, man. I would not be in redraft leagues. Matthew Stafford is going to be a value for sure in that draft, even in dynasty startups. Yeah.
Dude, and one last note, is – I'm okay. It's okay to be in a dynasty league and be old at quarterback.
Yeah. Was 33 that old for quarterback?
No, well, in comparison to what probably the
sure.
average age for the starting quarterback,
Sure,
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. The average age, and Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers fluctuate that thing through the roof.
Yeah.
But if you took like the median age of a starting quarterback, it's got to be about 27,
Yeah.
28. It's, and nothing more. And people are always like, oh, as soon as a guy turns 30 in the NFL, it's over. I'm like,
No.
not a dude. Matthew Stafford can move. He's not Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But he's not. I'd say he's comparable to like
him and Kirk Cousins probably have. I think Ryan Tannehill's maybe in that same conversation, but I think Ryan Tannehill's a step ahead when it comes to rushing ability. But just to wrap up the conversation on Matthew Stafford, outside of Trevor Lawrence, there's not another quarterback in this class that I would take over him in fantasy. There isn't. I love Justin Fields. I love Trey Lance.
So you're saying if you threw Trevor Lawrence, and then if you're not getting Trevor Lawrence, you're trying to get Matthew Stafford type of thing?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. There's because I understand the upside of these players, but just when it comes to the security and what they just gave up to get him and the potential they have, I'd have Matthew Stafford over all those guys. And I understand I might get some hate of that because everyone's loving rookies right now, but that's just my perspective. And then to wrap up this conversation, because we got a lot of players we're talking about today, I don't really care about Jared Goff. I didn't before, and now I care about him even less. He's not a guy. But yeah, if someone tells me, well, he's an excellent buy low now, I don't see him. I'm not even convinced he's going to be the starter for the Lions past 2021. Right? I really do think they're going to probably bring someone else in. So if you can sell him for whatever reason, I would definitely try. I don't know what you can even get for him right now. Maybe a late second, but I don't even know if that, man. It's just Jared Goff's not a player I'm excited about anymore because I really do think he was carried by Sean McVay and that offense. Put him on the Lions without Kenny Golladay probably too. Who's going to be throwing the ball to? Anyways, I'm not interested. Are you?
Like I said in our Dynasty group chat.
Yeah.
People, I think this is the best way I can possibly say it. Getting Jared Goff is the Lions version of tanking with style.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
because
you're not
Jared Goff
tanking.
Yeah, it's not. It's like we got a good quarterback. Yeah. We're trying to be competitive, but there's no way. The Chicago's going to beat the socks off them. Packers are going to beat the socks off them. Minnesota's going to beat the socks out of them. That's 6 losses right there every year. Every year.
It's kind of like when the Jags this past season, they kept benching Minshew. Like, why are you benching Minshew? Oh, well, what's his name? We just wanted.
We got to see what else we have in our quarterback room. It's
I don't even remember who the backup quarterback was, but it was some no name. Anyways, let's move on. A couple quick hitters, right? We're not going to go this deep into all of them. Like, great example, Dak Prescott, right? Is there any? We've already talked about Dak Prescott a lot in this league so far. Do you have any doubt in your heart he's not a Cowboy next season? Like, do you see him going anywhere?
I don't know if he's a Cowboy.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because the general consensus...
I think what's going to happen. I could be wrong. And his injury, like I've talked to Nino about it, his injury happened at the best possible time.
Absolutely, and it wasn't anything insane, right? It wasn't like Burrow's, who his knee might take a year and a half to fully heal. It's like, no, he'll probably be completely back to normal in 8 months, right? Chances
it's a bone. Bones fuse back together. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
I just don't know if. I feel like Dak, the Cowboys are going to try to still get him on a discount. If I'm Dak, I'm not taking a discount.
Interesting.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Dak gets franchise tagged.
Okay.
He gets the Kirk Cousins treatment.
Sure. Absolutely.
And then I'd be curious, but if not, dude, like I would love to see Dak on, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's possible, but I'd love to see Dak with the Niners. I would even like to see Dak. Honestly, I'd even like to see if the Jets could go either receiver or they skip quarterback or they trade back or they go like Sinai Puel from the tackle from Oregon. They solidify their offensive line and then they bring Dak in and pay him handsomely and he's with the Jets. I would be down to see that type of offense,
Yeah.
I honestly think I have no insider knowledge, obviously.
No, yeah.
But I think I would not be surprised. And I think, in my opinion, if I had to put money on it, it's what I'm thinking. Dak gets the franchise tag treatment.
Yeah, I think so too, because I think if I were to predict Dak's the rest of his career, right? Go ahead, screenshot this. Everyone, keep me accountable. I think he gets franchise tagged as a prove it deal, right? Let's see that you can come back, be healthy, see what you can do with this offense, right? A team that almost made the playoffs, right, with Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci under center, right? Let's see
Well,
what you can do.
that's
Yes.
another thing is you had Andy Dalton after he got his feet wet with the offense,
Yeah.
put together a pretty good offense with a trash O line.
Kind of. I mean, not the same level that Dak did, right? Not to the same tier.
I
would say,
agree,
yeah.
but that just goes to show
Much
like if
cheaper.
they
Sure, much cheaper.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's what I'm saying from a team building standpoint.
Yeah.
But I think
I
Dak's
think
a
he gets
Cowboy next year,
franchise tagged, and then I think they make a decision off of that. That's what I think's happened. If he does well, they'll give him a long-term contract. If not, they might just part ways. Regardless, I have a hard time seeing him switch situations and it being as good of a fantasy situation, right? Like, how are you going to go switch rosters and end up on a team that has Amari Cooper, better than Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Zeke out of the backfield in that offense where you're going to be passing the ball all the time, right? There's a lot of other good situations out there. And so I do think he's still someone you can buy low on, right? If I can, let me pull up the list right now. If I could send, personally, and y'all can hate me for this if you'd like, I'd much rather have Dak than Russell Wilson, right? I would much rather have Dak than Russell Wilson. I would have Dak over Aaron Rodgers as well, right? Those two players who are technically in the same tier, I would have Dak over both of those because of his upside, because of his age, because of whatever you want to, because of his situation. I'm taking Dak over those players. And I think that's a trade you can make, right? If the Dak owner is sitting there and he's upset and whatever, I would shoot that out, right? Because I do think he stays with the Cowboys. And even if he doesn't, if he lands with the Jets, if he lands, dude, we'll talk about this at one point because we've talked about other potential landing situations. How sweet for any of these quarterbacks, but especially Dak Prescott, Desean Watson, one of these guys to land in Denver. Like, the more I think about it, the more excited of the Denver landing potential I get, because we were excited about Drew Lock, and Drew Lock can't hit a freaking, he couldn't hit the side of a barn, right? If there was a gun to his head, right? Imagine if Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson comes into Denver with that offensive line that's going to be coming back slightly more healthy, with Cortland Sutton back healthy, with Jerry Jeudy, with Noah Fant, with KJ Hamler, right? With Melvin Gordon coming out of the backfield. That's a situation that I'm kind of excited about. I don't know who's going to land in Denver. I really hope just as a football fan, it's not Drew Lock. But anyways, I'm just going to throw that out there. If Dak lands in Denver, I'd be a happy man, but we'll see. Anyways, do you agree, just to wrap it up, would you be interested in buying low on Dak Prescott right now, like given the prices? Or do you think it's too uncertain what's going to happen with him?
Well, and buy low is all relative to what the owner is willing to give up.
Absolutely.
Because you're the Dak owner, what would it take to get Dak?
As the Dak owner, I'm not selling Dak right now. That is what it comes down to. And again, with my roster, I don't have to. But I think we saw a month
But where's a target price of where you would be like, okay, I'll consider this?
Oh, it's tough, man.
Would it be more or less than what you're asking for Joe Burrow?
Oh, definitely more. Definitely more. I would definitely take Dak over Joe Burrow right now, just because of the offensive weapons. Because, I mean, Joe Burrow ran the ball a little bit, but I think Dak has more rushing upside. And when that offensive line is healthy, I definitely think it's better than the Bengals. And again, weapons around him. It would have to take a couple firsts, right? A couple firsts for me to move Dak. And again, guys, we've talked about this plenty of times. I'm very much against moving injured players. I'm happy to acquire injured players in Dynasty, but I hate trading injured players because I feel like I'm giving them up less than what they're worth, right? When I traded for Dak at the beginning of last season, I paid peak prices because he was the quarterback one in fantasy at that time. And I paid those prices to get him. Now, if I sell him, I'm selling at a loss. Right. And again, maybe he doesn't hit that upside again. That's entirely possible. I think he will. That's why I wouldn't sell, but I would look to buy while there's a little bit of uncertainty before he gets back in the stride of things. Let's move on to the next quarterback free agent, and that's none other than Cam Newton, the fallen from grace. As a Patriots fan, it was so miserable to get excited about the Patriots, see him perform against the terrible Seahawks defense at the beginning of the season, then just watch Cam Newton disappoint week after week after week. And I get it. Who is he throwing the ball to, right? Jacoby Myers, right? I mean, N'Keal Harry, right? We've talked about this. The weapons in New England are not the best, to say the least. But I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if you have much Cam Newton analysis. I don't see Cam Newton landing another starting job, right? You and I just named 10 different places that need a quarterback. I don't think Cam Newton's a starter anywhere. Maybe he gets a backup job. Maybe. I don't think he's the starter next season, and unless he earns a job, I don't see him being a starter in 2022 either. What do you think happens with Cam Newton, man?
I'm hoping. Oh, what the heck? That's not what I wanted. I'm hoping that the only way I see Cam on a roster is if he's willing to take a backup slot.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm hoping he takes a slot. Like, I think a great place for him to be would be like the Chargers.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
You could even say a great place for even Miami type of thing.
I could see him having a shot at starting in Miami, depending on how.
Well, and that's the thing. You would really have to, but it's a fine line. I mean, you could even see, dude, and you could even see, a team like the Bears be like, all right, we're gonna have Nick Foles, Trubisky, and another third mid-tier quarterback, and you guys are just gonna battle it out, and we're gonna see what happens. Like just something horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't think I see Cam anywhere, but I will say whatever team does sign Cam, I hope they get an offense. I hope he's on an offensive mind that still gives him some package calls.
Sure.
Like
absolutely.
If he's willing to, dude, I'll turn Cam Newton into Tim Tebow. Just turn him what Tim Tebow was at Florida. You can turn into Cam Newton right now.
Yeah.
You just can't ask Cam to Cam, we don't want you throwing the ball 25 times. We want you throwing the ball maybe twice with maybe like 4 or 5 carries. And then after that, you're just kind of like,
I like it.
I like
it, dude. I got a completely separate note here. Did you just make a trade offer for Matthew Stafford on air? Did you just?
I didn't send an offer. I just hit him in the DMs.
Okay.
And
I get a notification from our Dynasty chat, everybody, where Noah here messages the main Stafford owner in our league saying, "Look at your DMs."
and the Russell Wilson owner.
So I'm just sitting here like, oh wow, that Noah's making moves on air.
I will say, I had an offer to Nick LeBoon. I said, I'll trade you Saquon for Russell Wilson and his first, which would have been the 4th pick.
Interesting.
He declined that earlier this year, midway through the season. But anyways, I did hit him up because he's ignored me like 6 times.
I think that's so funny. I love that. That is awesome. Hey man, the grind never stops. Speaking of grind never stopping, man, what are the Bears doing with Mitch Trubisky? Right? I think they former first round pick. He just finished his 4th season. They declined his 5th-year option. So it's entirely possible they give him a new contract. Entirely possible. But maybe he earned a new contract. Mitch Trubisky loves doing this thing where he's bad.
Are you serious?
I think they might, man. I don't think this is a hot take. I think the Bears can look at it and be like, well, we know Mitch Trubisky. We're keeping the same head coach and coaching staff and whatnot. He did enough to get us to the playoffs. Right? He technically did. I would not be surprised if the Bears keep him. I'm telling you this right now. Do not be surprised if Mitch Trubisky gets another contract from the Bears, man. And if that's the case, I think he has some dynasty value, right? I think he does have a little bit of your quarterback 3 on your roster. You can plug in bye weeks in a good matchup because of his rushing ability. Dude, I don't know, man. I'm just throwing that out there. I think he stays. Regardless, I don't see him have much value if he doesn't stay, because I have a hard time seeing a team saying, hey, Mitch Trubisky, you are our guy, right? We're starting you. You're getting all the – I have a really hard time seeing that. I don't know, man. Do you have any interest in buying Trubisky? Do you have any interest in – hit me with it.
Did you not see my face
I saw your face. I saw your face, so I want you to break it down.
Does this look like a guy that wants to buy the guy you're talking about? I don't want to buy Trubisky, dude. Dude, Trubisky is trash. You know exactly what you're getting from him, and he's a poor man's Ryan Fitzpatrick. I can't afford a poor man's Ryan Fitzpatrick. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
But I don't want the poor version of him.
Is Ryan Fitzpatrick without the beard, right? If Ryan Fitzpatrick were to shave
without the Harvard degree, and I don't want that. So hard pass, dude. If the Bears decide to go with Mitch Trubisky again, that offense is screwed again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather them see
it might happen, man.
I'd rather see them try to get Wentz back, and work Wentz back into Chicago than see Trubisky. The fact that Trubisky had a starting job this year, and Mariota and Jameis did not, blows my mind. I mean, dude, how can you say that he is better than that.
I really do
I
think
mean,
it's the general manager sitting here and saying, okay,
sunk cost fallacy, bro.
that's exactly what it is, man. Is that I need to prove to everybody that I didn't make a mistake drafting him over Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna tank the Bears' entire future. Sign him to we're gonna get a notification right now that Trubisky just signed a 6-year extension with the Bears. And all Bears fans will be on suicide watch. That's gonna be okay. So from a dynasty perspective, if you have Trubisky, you might as well hold him or you could drop him, but you might as well hold him just in the sense that no one's going to trade for him, right? No one's going to trade for him. But I'm not someone I'm acquiring. A guy that I would like to acquire though, Desean Watson, man. There's like rumor.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Okay,
and every other NFL team.
Look at it from this perspective, man. He is so incredibly talented. He's so young. He finished as the quarterback 5 this season. Deshaun Watson finished as the quarterback 5 without a head coach, with barely an offensive line, with no offense, without DeAndre Hopkins, without Fuller for half the season, still finishes the QB 5, right, in fantasy. No matter where he lands, he's going to have value. If he lands anywhere else, he's going to have a better fantasy situation than what he was already in. If there's any uncertainty in the world right now, if the dynasty owner of Watson's like, well, I don't know, he's still easily a top 5 dynasty quarterback for me, if not even higher, right? If out of the guys at the top, Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, number 4. That's the tier I have him in. I don't have him in the same tier as Mahomes, but I have him in that very same tier.
I honestly think out of those 4 guys, I wouldn't take any of those guys over Mahomes other than Deshaun Watson.
Interesting. If you like,
if I was in a startup draft and I saw some guy take Deshaun Watson over Mahomes,
interesting.
At first, I'd be like, I get it. Yeah. I get it. Because Mahomes is doing it with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. He's doing it with the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like Deshaun Watson has been doing it with nothing. He lost his best receiver to DeAndre Hopkins to a trade and still balled.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this guy is, and just the competitor he is. You saw him go up against Alabama a couple times. That was much fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say, on a very side note, I'm so tired of people complaining about, I'm so tired of Clemson, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, this and that. I go, I understand you're tired of the monopoly, but enjoy that these guys that are playing right now, it's all-star college team versus another all-star college team and future pros going against each other, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I like it, man. So if you can buy low on Deshaun Watson, I would. And I'm the Patrick Mahomes owner, right? I own Patrick Mahomes in our league. I'm very content, very happy owning Patrick Mahomes. He's not someone that I would think I'd ever trade, right? I personally, just for my league, I'm typically more conservative with my trades. And I think Patrick Mahomes is as safe as they come. But if you reach out to the Deshaun Watson owner prior to him moving anywhere, they're like, hey, man, do you want Patrick Mahomes? They're going to be like, immediately respond and be like, yes, I want Patrick Mahomes. Everyone wants Patrick Mahomes. Reach him out and say, okay, I'll take Deshaun Watson off your hands. I'll give you Patrick Mahomes, but send me Deshaun Watson and a piece, right? If you're kind of rebuilding, if you're trying to diversify your team, if you want to get a mid first round pick, I think that's a trade you can make, man. I think Patrick Mahomes' name value comes with that. So yeah, man, if that's your strategy, I don't hate it. If you want to make that move, I don't hate it. That's the tier Deshaun Watson is. And if he lands with the Broncos, with all those weapons around him, if he lands with the 49ers or even with the Jets, like you and I just talked about, his value is going to only get better, is how I see it. And then to wrap up the quarterback conversation, because we just talked about a lot of fun guys, let's talk about someone who is not so fun. Carson Wentz, right? Carson Wentz, I think he's going to be the starter in 2021 for the Eagles. That's my prediction. Again, not Adam Schefter. I don't have any insider knowledge.
Just going into week 1, you're saying?
Going into week 1, at least. I think I don't think he gets traded. I think his contract's too big. I think going into week 1, it's going to be that. Now, if that does happen, which is my prediction, I would not be surprised if some tomfoolery happens. I would not be surprised if that happens. He stays, and we see a similar quarterback battle with Jalen Hurts right behind him. So I've heard a lot of sources like, oh, now's the time to buy low on Carson Wentz. He's going to land with the Colts. If Carson Wentz lands with the Colts, all of a sudden I'm interested, right? And if you have some insider source or want to take that gamble because you see the range of outcomes, then yes, if Carson Wentz lands with the Colts and gets some kind of long-term deal there, he is arguably a top 12 dynasty quarterback, arguably, because of that offensive line, because of the weapons, because of his connection with Frank Reich. I could see that upside. But if he doesn't, we know what the floor is, right? We've seen the floor. So I mean, they make the argument that, okay, the Eagles' offensive line was hurt, all their offensive weapons were hurt, Doug Peterson's gone. I don't know, man. I'm sick of making excuses for Carson Wentz, just as an NFL fan. And in Dynasty, he's not someone I'm looking to acquire, but he's not someone who's going to cost you a lot if you're quarterback needy and if you believe in him. That's my analysis. What do you think about Carson Wentz here? Yeah.
If you have him, keep him. If you don't have him, if you can get, again, if you, the thing is, acquiring Carson Wentz now is not a 2021 decision. It's a 2022, 2023 decision.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's on the Eagles 2022.
Yeah. I don't know if he's
I think it's
depending, right?
But I think he's going to be a guy that's going to get another shot.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I think his time with the Eagles is kind of, just null and void, man. And I could be wrong, and he's been getting a lot of doubt, and he seems like a good dude that wants to bounce back, wants to work hard. But when you got I'm pretty meh on Jalen Hurts. I don't necessarily love him as if I just look at him as a quarterback prospect, I'm like, you're okay. But when I look at him in terms of the mentality and the competitive nature that he has, that's why I like Jalen Hurts.
Interesting.
But that doesn't always win championships, because you can have that mentality and still turn over the ball a lot, or still not be able to make all the throws when you need to make the throws, especially in NFL. College, it'll buy you some. Jalen Hurts started at Alabama as a freshman.
Yep.
Carson Wentz, I wasn't crazy about coming out of college, but he landed in a really good situation. And I actually went on record 2 years ago, saying I love the way the Eagles built their team. And then it just kind of crumbled right in front of them.
Yeah. A lot changed.
Unfortunately. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're a Carson Wentz guy, unless if you have someone knocking on the door, you got to keep him. But, I'm not – who's he – do you know where he's ranked? Because we always, reference pros.
I'll pull it up right now. They have Carson Wentz – as the
they have him sandwiched in between.
19. They have him. He's dropped drastically. He used to be at least top 13 earlier before all this craziness. But right now he's right behind Jared Goff and right ahead of Daniel Jones. And he's behind guys fair. Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, Jalen Hurts, Matt Stafford, which I think is right. I think that's about right. I think that is about right.
And the thing is I think we're seeing with Carson Wentz now, and with Carson Wentz now and with Mitch Trubisky, I think we're going to see, and even Dak Prescott, what we saw with Kirk Cousins, we're going to see the same exact thing with Daniel Jones next year.
Interesting.
Because he's getting close to where, are they going to pay him? Are they going to pay him? Are they going to pay him? Yep. And at some point, I wish these organizations and players would sometimes not always just take the team-friendly deal and just like, oh, yeah, let's sign, let's lock it in. I go, like Desean Watson, I bet he regrets signing that long-term extension.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I understand he's like begging for a move right now and he's getting a lot of criticism because of it. But they guaranteed him so much money in that contract. Like,
exactly. If like, how do you walk away from it?
Yeah, if I'm a human being looking at that contract, I'm just like, oh man, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of guaranteed money. Guys, those are the quarterbacks, right? We don't really know what's going to happen. Those are the dynasty moves we'd make, right? My idea, and I should have probably started with this, but if I can get one of my guys to land on the Steelers, on the Colts, on the Broncos or Niners, I'd be happy. I'd be very happy. If I have a guy land with the Bears, the Washington football team, I would be less excited, but any of those top four teams, I'd be excited to see move for sure. Let's talk about running backs, man. Free agent running backs. This is an interesting conversation because it's very top heavy. There's really only a single free agent running back that I was really, really excited about. And before we dive into him, let's talk about some potential landing spots, right? The Cardinals are a team that really, I don't think and we'll talk about Kenyan Drake in a second, but I think the Cardinals are going to be looking for another running back coming into this offseason, whether that be through the draft or free agency. The Falcons desperately need a new running back. The Steelers are 100% going to be in the running back market. The Jets definitely need a running back. The Dolphins, question mark? I don't know. I put in my notes, Dolphins, question mark. Bills, potentially, and then Seahawks, potentially. Right? So out of those teams, Cardinals, Falcons, Steelers, Jets, Dolphins, Bills, Seahawks, what two teams do you think have the most fantasy value if a player lands there? And this answer's pretty easy
Cardinals
for me. Yeah.
and honestly, the Seahawks.
Interesting. So for me, it would be the Falcons or the Steelers. Right? The Falcons or the Steelers, just because, I mean, the offensive caliber. Now, both of those teams questionable when it comes to future quarterbacks. I understand that for sure. But dude, again, if Najee Harris or Travis Etienne land at any of those 4 spots, I'm gonna freak out, and it's gonna be great. But regardless, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about rookies today, but we will soon. So subscribe to the channel. Aaron Jones really is the only free agent running back coming into this offseason I'm really excited about, because he's a talent I genuinely believe in. Aaron Jones is someone that I was on the free Aaron Jones train. I was out there on Capitol Hill with everybody with a sign with hashtag free Aaron Jones, man. I've been saying this for years. Big fan of Aaron Jones, but from a dynasty perspective, I was always a little hesitant because all of his fantasy value came from touchdowns, came from long touchdown runs, came from an unholy amount of receptions when Devontae Adams wasn't on the field. But I feel like he's someone that this is how I'll say it. Aaron Jones is the player that you need to plant your flag on right now. You need to be watching this video and plant your flag and say, I believe in this man and I'm going to buy him, because if he stays with the Packers, he's going to probably continue to be an efficient pass-catching running back who's going to catch a bunch of touchdowns and score a bunch of touchdowns. Or you believe in the talent, say, I don't care if he lands with the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Dolphins, the Seahawks. It doesn't matter where he lands. In free agency, someone's going to pay him and he's going to continue to ball, right? You can make that argument. Or you could be on the other side of the argument and be like, well, I don't really know if I trust the talent. I don't really know. I mean, again, they're already working in what's his name? Williams on the Packers is also a free agent. A.J. Dillon, who was drafted, is coming to most likely start seeing a little bit more work. He's such a polarizing player that I feel like you need to decide where you sit on him and make some moves. And that has to be a decision you make. Because that's a tough decision for me to sit here and really argue either way, because I understand both sides of the argument. And there's my very non-committal analysis for you. Noah, what are you doing with Aaron Jones, man? We need a flag to be planted. What do you think is going to happen with him? What would you do in Dynasty with him? Because right now, just for everyone sitting at home, let me pull up his ranking. I do believe he's still ranked. I think he's the running back 13 in Dynasty. Oh, running back 8 in Dynasty. Running back 8, that's ahead of J.K. Dobbins, ahead of Zeke, ahead of Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift, right? There's a lot of big names he's ahead of. That's expensive, man. Where are you sitting on Aaron Jones?
I like, but I don't love, personally. But I can understand why other people would love him. He has pass catching ability. He has home run hitting ability. He's good in between the tackles. He can bounce it out. Has some ball carrying issues at times, I feel, both either sometimes even dropping the ball out of the backfield or even just straight up fumbling. That's kind of where I'm at on it. I do think he's going to get paid. I could even see him being on the team like the Jets personally, just because they have. I mean, he's going to have to go to a team with money.
Yeah.
And if the Jets want to pay for a running back, then hey, maybe they do, and they allow. Because the best thing you can do for a young quarterback is to having an established run game.
Oh yeah, especially a guy like Aaron Jones. Yeah,
exactly. Guy that's dependable, third down. He can block on third downs, and I just don't think the Packers are going to re-sign him unless if he wants to take that deal. That was allegedly thrown out there. I don't know if there was ever figures thrown on it, but allegedly he had an offer from the Packers that he said no to.
Yeah,
and I assume they lowballed him, which I would too if I were the Packers. Because
the Packers are 30th in the NFL when it comes to cap space.
And so yeah, I like Aaron Jones. I definitely think if you like the talent, then dive into it. But I mean, that's just fantasy 101.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, if you're the owner of Aaron Jones, do you try to get younger with the running back? Do you try to or do you want to just ride out the pony and see where it goes? Because I do think he's got a lot of tread on his tires left. I don't think he's an issue.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be I think he's going to be helpful to whatever team he goes to next. I mean, he could even take, if he doesn't end on a Jacksonville or a Jets, because I could see Aaron Jones and going to Jacksonville, and getting them just a solid running back, and they would have two really good running backs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you go to the Jets and he's the number one guy. Yep. Or if he doesn't get offers from either of those two teams, him and Antonio Gibson would be fantastic in Washington.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
it's just,
definitely hurts Antonio Gibson.
But here's the thing. I don't know who's going to be throwing the ball in Washington next year.
Yeah.
And Antonio Gibson is not a 16 game, 200 rush, 200 touches type of guy. At least not right now in his current state, because there's a difference between playing receiver in college and the transition to running back. You might get it, you might be good at it, but it's the endurance of the body. That's real. That's why Adrian Peterson was so good, is because he could just go Frank Gore, the endurance of the body.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Antonio Gibson is there and his body's there to really know if he can. And I don't think any team should make any running back the sole running back ever. I don't ever think even a guy like Christian McCaffrey should be the only guy carrying the ball. Because otherwise you run these guys into the ground. Look at what's happened to Todd Gurley. Like Mark Ingram. Look at how long of a career Mark Ingram's had. He was never really the one guy. Yeah, he always had a second fiddle. And look at what he's able to do with that, being the second fiddle. It's tougher for a fantasy perspective, but
I agree, man. So again, somebody got to plant your flag on. Somebody got to make a decision on. I personally, if I'm the Aaron Jones owner, I'm selling. Honestly, I'm selling because of the hype right now, the potential. Everyone's sitting here like, oh, well, what if he lands with the Steelers? What if he lands with the Falcons? His potential. Yeah.
What would our league, and if people, our league, 10 team, PPR, 2 quarterback, 3 regular flex, what kind of package would you want to get for Aaron Jones?
So I quickly went through the Fantasy Pros rankings, and DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are all ranked significantly behind Aaron Jones, right? Significantly behind Aaron Jones. And I would sit here and look at that ranking, and honestly, if I can flip Aaron Jones for any of those players, I would. I do it straight up.
Would you do it straight? Okay,
I would do it straight up, but I don't think you have to. I would do it straight up, but I don't think you have to. I would personally take all of those players because of the rookie contracts they're on. I'm always get younger at running back. You have to. I was listening. I don't know if you listen to the Dynasty Nerds podcast. They're excellent. The group of guys, the OGs in the Dynasty community, and they did this whole hour-long episode on fantasy running backs. And statistically speaking, according to their research, if a running back is going to be an RB1 throughout their career, chances are it's going to happen on their rookie contract. This happens time and time and time again. And as soon as they sign that second contract, if they're in this top statistical tier, it's possible, but chances are they're always either are an RB2 or worse once players get on that second contract. So if I can get younger, switch for any of those players, I would. But if you can flip Aaron Jones while everyone's all excited about him for Cam Akers and some, which I think is a deal you can get done right now, that's exactly what I'm doing. And maybe I'll look like an idiot, right? That's entirely possible. He lands with the Cardinals next season and he's balling out. Maybe I'll look like an idiot. That's fine. But for me, I'm always trying to get younger at running back. And I think that's a trade you can make today.
I will say, when you trade away cornerstone players like that to get quote unquote younger, get draft picks, however you want to coin it, you always got to know that you're making an investment and the other people are going to be seeing the benefits before you do.
Yeah.
So it's a patience game. And that's, and so if Aaron Jones, you got to go, I'm okay with Aaron Jones balling out on X team.
Yeah.
So that I think actually Arizona is a great landing spot for him. I actually would not be surprised if he goes there, because I don't think they bring Kenyan Drake back. No. I think they're going to be super excited to have Chase Edmonds there between the two of them. And the Cardinals can't afford to draft a running back.
Speaking of the Cardinals, let's transition to them really quickly because Kenyan Drake's next on the list, and I have one word for Kenyan Drake: sell. Sell right now. Sell Kenyan Drake for whatever you can get him for, right? The man's 27 years old, and I get it. There was a lot of hype last season about his potential, right? Because he ended 2019 looking really, really good. He got the volume. He got the big 1-year deal to prove it, and he didn't prove it, man. He did not look very good out there. He got a lot of volume, but he was an RB2 because of volume, not because of talent. I do not think Kenyan Drake's back. He's 27 years old. As soon as the Cardinals trade for Aaron Jones, draft a running back. And again, I don't even know if that's even within their range of possibilities. As soon as they make that move, Kenyan Drake has zero dynasty value. As soon as that happens, because if Kenyan Drake's on the streets, he's going to be on another team in a committee, right? He's not going to be even remotely close to a top 20 running back. So if you can get those prices, or dude, if I can get a second round pick for Kenyan Drake right now, I'm doing that in a heartbeat. Right, I'm doing that so quickly. I would be sending out trade offers right now. Give me your second for Kenyan Drake. Give me your second for Kenyan Drake. Seeing if I can get it. I don't know if anyone would, but you need to sell. Do you see eye to eye here on Kenyan Drake? Where do you think Kenyan Drake's going to land?
I don't know where. Okay. I just think he has, dude. I even see him being. He's going to be a committee back next year. Like I could see Kenyan Drake even being a type of running back that Tampa brings in.
Sure.
To replace Leonard Fournette.
Sure.
I could see Kenyan Drake going to, dude, he could even end up being I think he's just going to be even the Broncos, for example. Yeah. I just think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to have to sign maybe a $3 or $4 million, $3 to $8 million deal, if that much, and is going to have to earn his reps.
Yeah.
Because it was anyone that watched the Cardinals was like, yeah, Chase Edmonds is the real deal, not this guy. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where I stand on Kenyan Drake. Would I sell? If you, like you said, if you can get like a mid to high second round pick, I would consider doing that.
Yeah,
but
I would do it. Yep. What's his upside?
There comes a time where it's just like,
what's his upside though? Like I would, yeah, like he ends up in another committee. Say he ends up in San Francisco, then he's just another guy that hopefully gets 8 carries a game and a couple targets. Right, he's no more than a.
Well, just thinking the right. I mean, I didn't like the Cardinals offense really all that much last year.
But he was the guy.
From a schematic standpoint.
Yeah, but he was a workhorse when it comes to carries. I don't think he ever sees that volume, man. I think we've seen his peak. That's what I'm saying.
No, I think you're right. No, no. Yeah, his best days are behind him.
Exactly, and I don't see a lot of fantasy value coming from him. He's entering, and I'm talking about all these guys. Before I talk about Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, James Conner, and Chris Carson, let me tell you guys a quick story. Back in our Dynasty Startup Draft, Jordan Howard was ranked very high as a running back, right? He had just signed with the Dolphins. He, was not super old, right? He has fantasy history, right? He was decent. He was ranked over players like Antonio Gibson, like Zach Moss, like J.K. Dobbins went after him, man. Things that keep me up at night. The fact that I drafted Jordan Howard over all those guys back in the day, right? I've learned my lesson since then, gentlemen. With that being said, I had him on my team, Jordan Howard, and I dropped him. I dropped him from my roster, despite where I picked him up, despite his age, because I don't care. I get to a certain point with fantasy running backs where I just no longer care about them on my roster. They get to a point where they clog the roster. They don't really have much upside, right? There's very minimal chance they land in a place where they're anything more than a committee touchdown dependent flex play. Right, where you're like, oh man, I really hope my guy ends up in the end zone, because if not, I have 3 fantasy points in my starting lineup. Right, I'd much rather get younger handcuffs. Right, I'd much rather invest in of course, in higher tier guys, and that's kind of where I am at with all these guys, with Kenyan Drake, with Leonard Fournette, with Todd Gurley, James Conner. Okay, Chris Carson. If Chris Carson is back with the Seahawks and they don't sign anyone else, then he's going to be an RB2. Right, chances are he's going to be at least an RB2 because of the targets he sees, because of that offense he's on. But I have a really, really difficult time seeing James Conner, seeing Todd Gurley, and seeing Leonard Fournette land somewhere where they're anything more than a weekly touchdown-dependent flex play. And maybe I'm wrong, man. Leonard Fournette might have just he might have scored that touchdown where he jumped over a guy, spun the guy, and then trucked 2 guys to score a touchdown. That one play against the Packers might have just won him a second contract with the Bucs, right? That might have just won him another job. It's entirely possible. I don't know if Fournette belongs in this category because that one play will always be in the back of my mind now. And it's possible that that earns him a job on the Dolphins or on the Jags, for example. But Gurley, James Conner, and Chris Carson, if they're not guys I'm excited for, not guys I'm looking to acquire, guys, if I can trade for any kind of name value, I probably would. What do you think, man? Anyone from this list in particular you're interested in? Am I an idiot?
I would love to acquire Leonard Fournette.
Okay, sure. What do you think happens?
I just think he's going to be the type of. I hope this is what he takes. I think he's going to fit the LeGarrette Blount role of the NFL, and he's just going to kind of be the journeyman running back that kind of just hops from Super Bowl team to Super Bowl team to Super Bowl team.
Yeah,
and just kind of because Leonard Fournette's, as long as he doesn't have like ACLs, injuries and things like that, his running style ages like a fine wine.
Yeah.
It only gets better as the season goes. Look at Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry doesn't typically start the season on fire. But, dude, the last 8 games of his he's just running through guys because guys are banged up. He's ready to roll. Leonard Fournette, not saying he's Derrick Henry, very similar run style. They're going to run through you. Again, they both can be agile, move left and right, but they're going to go through you.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So I like Leonard Fournette. James Conner, I'm sorry. If it wasn't going to work in Pittsburgh, it's not going to work.
Yep.
And
Todd Gurley.
Carson. Yeah. Todd Gurley, arthritis, old.
Losing carries to freaking Brian Smith or, Brian Hill and Ito Smith. Yeah,
sorry. I mean, and that was the concern of Todd Gurley coming out of the draft is, he's awesome, but his knees are screwed.
Yeah.
And anyone that drafted him knew that that's what was going to be the issue. And that's what I don't understand about the Rams. They paid Todd Gurley knowing what his knees were like when they drafted him.
Yeah.
And
then Chris Carson, I think Chris Carson,
I like.
He could be a buy low window, right? I think you could possibly buy him because I do think he is. I mean, again, if you're really, really desperate for a running back, right? Say you kind of ignore a running back in the draft. He's that kind of guy that I feel has a safe floor if he stays with the Seahawks, right? He sees enough targets, even if he's in some kind of committee with Rashad Penny, whoever else they potentially bring in. I don't know, man. That's kind of my thoughts on him. Let's see. I'm going to pull
I really don't think this is an off season where the big movers in the free agency are the receivers and what's happening with this quarterback carousel.
I totally agree.
Running backs are kind of moot points because for the most part, other than Najee, even like in the draft, other than Najee Harris and Travis Etienne and Javonte Williams, you could say as like a tier 2 option, I would say at this point in time. There's really not going to be a whole lot of movement at running back. Like if you go back to last year's, if you look at 2020 Superflex mock drafts, rookie drafts only.
Yeah.
The top 3, 4, 5 picks are pretty much all running backs unless you're taking CeeDee Lamb.
Yep. Yeah.
It's pretty much Jonathan Taylor, Dobbins, CEH, Akers, DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
This year, Superflex, you're looking at 2 quarterbacks, the 2 running backs, the 2 receivers, Kyle Pitts, and then probably just receiver, quarterback, receiver. You know what I mean? So like, it's to the point where it's like running backs where they're at are pretty much, in my opinion, going to be solidified where they're at. Other than the few pieces, I think Gus Edwards is a super. I sold Gus Edwards, but I got something I really wanted in return.
Yeah.
I think Gus Edwards, especially if you're a contending team, is a extremely awesome buy low candidate right now. He's a restricted free agent, so pretty much
he's going to be a Raven. Yeah, he's going to be a Raven.
I think it'd be dumb to think he's not a Raven.
Why not? He's not going to be expensive. He fits the scheme perfectly. Like
and I keep him. And I think he fits again. And especially if I'm the J.K. Dobbins owner, that's a guy I'm looking to target because my philosophy when it comes to running backs is I like to own a backfield.
Yeah.
If it's not, unless if you got a Christian McCaffrey or you got a Dalvin Cook or you got a Saquon, I like to own a backfield if it's going to be a committee. My backfield I got in our startup draft was the Rams. I owned the Rams backfield.
It's a nice
that was one of my goals. And I was like, this is a backfield I see being great forward. Owning the Rams backfield is a great thing. Owning the Packers backfield going forward is a nice thing. Owning the Seattle backfield, owning the Niners backfield is probably the most frustrating thing to do in fantasy, but it's still an awesome backfield to own because you know it's going to go well.
Well, it's the
So
same with like the Cowboys, the Vikings, right? Teams even like that, right? Where if I can get the top tier guy on their handcuff, that's what I'm going to shoot for, man. So I agree. You hit it right on the head. Not a lot of running back movement this year. I can't believe that Etienne and Harris almost entered the NFL last season. Can you imagine that running back draft class? We would be talking about it for centuries. Like, it would be one of the best of all time. Right? It would be one of the best of all time. Yeah.
This is why I say I don't know if I can pass on Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
Because I was when he decided to go back to school last year, I was so disappointed. Not even mad. I was just disappointed because I was like, dude. Because I mean, I said I would. I was like, I would consider just trading Saquon and getting Travis Etienne on my team, essentially straight up. Because if Travis Etienne would have been in the draft last year, he probably would have been my first pick.
Wow. Interesting.
And that's why I'm like, I love Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I like Justin Fields. I like Jamar Chase. Devontae Smith. I'm like, he's good.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I love Etienne. Yeah. I love Etienne. I love what he does. So I'm like, I don't know if I can really pass up on that.
Yeah.
So I think it's
ahead. For the record, everyone at home, I would still take Najee Harris over him, but that's just me, right? You and I don't see that, and that's fine, man. We'll totally see. Landing spot's really going to change that in general, but we'll totally see, man. One last thing I want to throw out there, just because, again, I'm sick of talking running backs. There's so many great wide receivers I want to talk about. Just guys, keep an eye out on Kenneth Gainwell. That's all I just want to throw out there. I'm really excited to see out of Memphis. I'm really excited to see where he lands.
Memphis produces good talent, bro.
Dude, this is the man who benched freaking Antonio Gibson, right? This is the man who played so well that Memphis played him over freaking Antonio Gibson, the beast, the 6'2", 4'4" speed beast. Like he's the reason he was a wide receiver, not a running back, right? Kenneth. So just throw that out there, right? Just a little dynasty tidbits here for you. Anyways, enough of that. The real reason we're here to talk wide receivers, man. Can we talk about this for a second? There are so many amazing wide receivers in this NFL draft class and in free agency. It's insane. I'm saying this right now. If you have any mediocre wide receivers on your team, if you have the Marvin Jones of the world, if you have the Sammy Watkins guys, the guys who are like, well, they're on my roster, they're okay, they see a couple targets, the Marquez Valdez-Scantling. These middle tier fantasy or just NFL wide receivers are going to start disappearing, in my opinion, because between this free agency class and because of the amazing oncoming rookie class, things are about to get mixed up big time, man. Big time. So let's quickly talk about potential NFL teams that, in my opinion, could use a wide receiver. The Ravens. You and I talk about this quite a bit. The Ravens need that possession-style wide receiver. The Patriots. As a Patriots fan, I would kill to get any of these wide receivers on our roster. The Jets really, they only have Denzel Mims. I don't think anyone else is under contract going into next season. Crowder might be. I'll have to double check that.
I think Crowder is. I think he's got at least one more year.
Yeah, but everyone else is gone from what I understand. The Bears, right? We don't even know if Allen Robinson's going to stay. I don't think he does. The Packers have been needing to add a wide receiver for 10 years now. The Texans, right? The Texans badly need a wide receiver. The Chiefs, I mean, DeMarcus Robinson and Sammy Watkins are likely not going to be on the team next season. Who says they don't draft somebody or bring someone else in, right? And just make that team even more unstoppable. The Dolphins, the Eagles, Washington, the Chargers, the Colts, right? The Colts with T.Y. Hilton leaving, with Paris Campbell being, injured off and on. I would not be surprised if they add someone else, man. Out of that list I just went off, right? Ravens, Patriots, Jets, Bears, Packers, Texans, Chiefs, Dolphins, Eagles, Washington, Chargers, Colts. Where's your ideal landing spot, right? If you're for the guy that for a rookie or free agent, where do you want to see them land in free agency here? It's tough. It's tough because there's a couple good spots, right?
I think I want to see Allen Robinson the most with the Ravens.
Okay, for sure.
Because I think he's the guy that would go there, and he doesn't need a good quarterback to succeed. Yeah. He just needs opportunity.
Yeah.
and a team that can offense that can move the ball down the field. That's all he wants. That's all he's asking for. I just want just move the ball down the field, throw me the ball a couple times. I'll make plays. That's all he does. Make plays.
I'm really curious from a fantasy perspective what his value would be like on the Ravens.
Completely subjective. I mean, one of probably the most polarizing players, at least going into the year, because people are going to be like, well, is he playing with the best quarterback of his NFL career? I would say yes.
Yeah.
But can Lamar get him the ball? If he doesn't, everything else is going to be open.
Yeah.
Everything else is going to be open. I mean, if Allen Robinson was on the Ravens, I'd be like, dude, I wish I had Allen Robinson.
Yeah. I just am worried about the target load. Like, he saw terrible targets from Trubisky, sure, but he was consistently so heavily targeted.
I just think he's going to get. I just think he's going to get so many touchdown opportunities.
Yeah. No, that's where I agree with you. Yeah.
Because here's the thing: you put out, and this is the like in terms of football philosophy. This is what I'm doing if I'm the Ravens. I'm Lamar Jackson. I get to the line. I got Allen Robinson one-on-one to my left. Sure. Or I look Allen Robinson to my left. He's one-on-one. Okay. Look, guess where I'm throwing the ball?
Yeah.
Oh, they got a corner and they got a safety over the top. Okay, let's run. But right now the Ravens, he can't look to the outside and go, oh, I got Hollywood Brown. Okay, can't necessarily throw him the ball all the time because he's not big enough for me to just throw him the ball. Got Mark Andrews in the middle. I go, but the middle's all clogged up. And then it's like Boykin. I don't know if I trust you to make a play.
Yeah.
Willie Snead, dude, you're ancient. It's like you're looking around, but like Allen Robinson just opens up that entire offense.
Yeah, he totally does, man. Yeah,
that would be my. I mean, if not Allen Robinson, I would like to see Chris Godwin there.
Ooh, yeah. Sure.
But
so
I like Allen Robinson. I think
specific guys here in a little bit, right? And so I think the Packers is another ideal landing spot. I would love to see someone land with the Texans if Desean Watson stays. I think there's a lot of sneaky value for a player landing in the Dolphins and Eagles as well, right? Two situations where I think there's definitely a target vacuum, right? Someone needs to catch the ball out there. Even Washington, depending on what they do with quarterback. I would not be mad if any of these guys land there. The Chargers, I'm trying to load Mike Williams' contract, but my internet's not working, and it's making. I mean, we're still.
Oh, Mike Williams is on his fifth. He's going into a contract year.
Yeah,
and they picked up his 5th-year option.
Yeah.
So this is his 5th-year option. I want to say he's probably making $12 million.
And I wouldn't hate if they were to bring in either through the draft or one of these guys that we're about to talk about, and to be that supplemental piece, just with Keenan Allen getting older, Mike Williams maybe who can't stay healthy to save his life, right? Pair him with freaking Justin Herbert. I'd love to see any of those spots. Anyways, that all being said, man, let's kick it off with Juju Smith-Schuster, TikTok legend, hated by everybody. I own Juju in our league, and I drafted him very early in our startup draft. I think he was my 4th overall pick, or in the 4th round.
Late though.
He still went late compared to where he used to be, right? He used to be a consensus top overall pick. He is currently ranked by Fantasy Pros as the Dynasty wide receiver 28. So his value has dropped significantly. That's behind Jerry Jeudy, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Ayuk. I think Cortland Sutton. I think that's a little disrespectful. I think that's a little bit too far for Juju, putting him in the value category. I don't think he stays with the Steelers. I really don't, man. The Steelers are not a team that have a particularly large amount of money. They're 28th in projected cap space, meaning they're going to have they're going to need to cut some people, right? They're going to have to move something around to afford everybody. And Juju is going to enter free agency and demand some money. I really do see that. I could see a team like the Dolphins, right? I do see a team like the Jets go out and try to acquire him and pay him that money. And I think if they're able to keep him in the slot, right, in a team like the Jets, or the Dolphins, where there's other players on the outside, right? Denzel Mims, Devontae Parker on the outside, that he's not the guy. I think that he's going to be fantasy viable. Again, he's only 23 years old. He's still so incredible.
Super young.
Like NFL wide receivers, they hit their prime typically in their 25, 26, 27 years old. The man's still 3 years before that, and he already has 1,000-yard receiving season. And I get that was with Antonio Brown and Big Ben, but I do believe there's still some fantasy value in the future. If I can pay, I would personally, looking at these very disrespectful Fantasy Pro rankings, I would take him over Julio Jones in a heartbeat, who's ranked over him. I'd take him over Cortland Sutton. I would take him over Brandon Ayuk, right? And I might get a little bit of hate for that, but I would do that. I'd take him over Robert Woods, and I would take him over Jerry Jeudy, right? But you want to have that conversation with DJ Chark and Juju? Absolutely. That's a conversation I'll entertain. But Juju at 28, that's just a little too much hate, man. I get that we hate him. Like, people in general are sick of his TikTok dances. They're sick of his disappointing season this past year. They don't know where he's going to land. I'm buying low. I own Juju, and I'm not selling him because his value is so incredibly low right now. And I think he bounces back a little bit. I think he gets paid. Anyways, man, what are you doing with Juju right now? What are you thinking?
I would love to acquire Juju.
Oh, really? Okay. You're the only one in our league who cares, man. I ask people, and they're like, I hate Juju. I'm like, oh, I guess not, man.
I will say, Juju bugs the shit out of me.
Me too, man.
He bugs the shit out of me.
If he could just delete his TikTok, I would skyrocket him up my.
And TikTok is cancer, dude. I wish people understood that TikTok, just like every other social media platform, is even YouTube. We're on it. Sorry, YouTube is cancer.
We're gonna get kicked off.
All this shit is cancer. Cancer. It is, and I fully agree. But it's useful. It's useful until it's cancer. It can grow and grow, but as soon as it's uncontrolled growth, which is what cancer is, it's cancer, and that's what Juju's at. I hope there was, and the thing is it doesn't make me feel like the Steelers learned their lesson about running their yappers and all this, because after they lost to the Browns, they go, Chase Claypool's on his TikTok. Oh, well, the Browns are going to get slapped next week anyways. It's like, dude, can you just shut up? And I know personally, this is my inclination. I don't know, but my inclination is that Juju drives the boat on this stuff. You know, he kind of brings that, because it's Juju, man. Yeah. He started off as this young, nice, cool, receiver who goes to prom with this kid, and that was cool, man.
Like helping out these homeless guys, he was.
And then all of a sudden it turned into, and I'm just like, oh my god, dude! Like, just for the clout.
As the Juju owner, dude, I would love nothing more if he gets picked up by the Patriots, right? Who have some cap space, who hopefully they bring in a quarterback in free agency. They have to, or draft somebody. And then I hope Bill Belichick just kicks his ass a little bit. Like, if you want to be a Patriot, we'll pay you this money. We'll have N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers who are going to be whatever on the outside. We'll put you in the slot here now that Julian Edelman's likely on his way out. And we'll kick your ass, man. We know what your potential is. It's something like that, right? That's what I would like to see.
Do you know what would be terrible? Because, well, here's my thing. I don't love Juju as the best receiver on the team. Sure. I love Juju as the second best receiver on the
team.
Yeah. Absolutely. Who could still put up wide receiver 1 numbers as the second best receiver. Place I mean, you could say any of these guys that go to Kansas City and it'd be awesome. But, a guy goes to Kansas City. I mean, him Miami would be fun.
Yeah.
Even, it's just, I don't want him. If I see him as a number 1 receiver, like the Patriots, I agree with you on the mentality standpoint of the Patriots.
Yeah.
I don't agree with making him the number 1 receiver on a team.
Yeah.
I just
also, I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be like at the Patriots. So it's kind of a sketchy. As a Patriots fan, I'd like to see it. But they going in. So that's what I would do, guys. If you can buy Juju low right now, if you can send any of those guys I mentioned, like Julio, for example, then I'm doing that. Then I'm absolutely doing that. If you can, I'll bet you could even trade. And I love this rookie class, but I personally would take Juju over a lot of these second-round wide receivers that you and I talk about, right? Some of these mid-second-round picks, I'm sure that's a trade you can make, right? Especially when the draft gets closer, for sure, right? I would, and I might learn to regret that, but that's where I'm at. Players I will never trade, or players that I just love watching. Allen Robinson, man, you'll have a hard time convincing me that Allen Robinson's not one of the most talented wide receivers in the league. Time and time again, I'm sitting here watching his games. I'm like, how did he catch that? Any other wide receivers catching this terrible pass from Trubisky or Nick Foles, and he's like laying out completely. His toes are barely on the sideline. Like, just beautiful highlight reel catches because he has to, right? Just wait till he's so talented. He's what, 26, 27 years old. He's not old by any stretch of the means when it comes to a wide receiver. If he lands anywhere, they're going to have to pay him. But if he lands with the Ravens, if he lands with even the Texans, right? If they keep Desean Watson, oh my gosh, I'd lose it, man. Even if he lands with like the Eagles, the Chargers, the Colts, I could see these things happening, and I'd love it. It's hard for me to see a situation where his quarterback situation is going to be worse than Mitch Trubisky, right? So another player that I've actually gotten a lot of trade offers for recently, and I can't trade him right now. I just can't let him go, right? I can't let him go because I think the situation's only going to get better. Allen Robinson currently ranked as the dynasty wide receiver 13 on Fantasy Pros, and I think that's the perfect range for him.
I don't know. I have him higher.
I personally have him higher as well, but then you start naming the guys in front of him, right? You got Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb at 12, Allen Robinson at 13, then DJ Moore at 14. That's where he's currently at. And I could easily see him higher than that, but I don't see him much lower than that. I think the wide receiver 13 in Dynasty is his absolute floor, and I think that will only get better.
That's fair.
That's
fair. Right on the cusp of wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2.
Exactly.
Territory.
It's nothing against him, man. It's just I love all those other guys.
Yeah, no, hey, fair.
Because you look at it, CeeDee Lamb. I'll take CeeDee Lamb. Terry McLaurin. Okay, we can have that conversation. Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Michael Thomas, Stephon Diggs. All those guys are just a little bit over Allen Robinson, but he's in that conversation.
But how many people would still be at 13 if Mitch Trubisky was throwing them the ball?
Definitely not Michael Thomas.
Yeah. That's just my if he's with the Bears, totally. Yeah, 13. That's probably as bad as good as it's gonna get because of his situation. But
if he moves.
Yeah.
Oof,
I mean, come on.
He's going up. Yeah.
Hey,
you know who he reminds me of? Genuinely, you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs before Stephon Diggs got traded. That's who he reminds me of, where he was like, all right, he's like this dynasty wide receiver 2. He's kind of hit or miss. Hasn't been anything spectacular for a number of reasons. But as soon as he gets traded, if he gets to a spot where him and that quarterback click, if he can be the wide receiver 1 there with any kind of quarterback upgrade, all of a sudden we're talking about like, oh yeah, Stephon Diggs is a no-brainer, top 7, if not top 5, if not top 3 dynasty wide receiver. I could easily see Allen Robinson escalate because the contract is going to demand and because of how talented he is. Anyways, go buy low on him, right? If you can buy him at those prices, which I'll bet you can, I'm doing it, man. I'm definitely doing it. Kenny Golladay. I still can't get over how stacked this class is, man. I see how many amazing free agents there are. It's insane. I don't think he's a Lion, right? Just because I don't think the Lions, I don't think he fits what the Lions want. No, they're completely rebuilding. They literally let Matt Stafford go out of respect. Right? We're like, hey, man, we're not going to win anything the next 2 years. We respect you for what you've done up to this point. You can move on with your career, right? Because we're totally real. That's literally what happened from the reports that I've read. And they're just like,
totally
respect, bro. There's something probably very similar is going to happen with Kenny Golladay. And even if he does stay with the Lions, what's his upside with Jared Goff and that Lions offense with that terrible offensive line? So anyways, that being said, I think he's gone. I think he's gone.
I don't think he was hurt all year long.
I think it was a business decision, man. I think so too. Yeah.
Because he was like, we're not winning anything over the next 2 years. Y'all ain't paying me shit. I'm going to opt out, but not opt out, but I'm opting out.
I would love to see, and this is a guy, and we're going to say this landing spot quite a bit, but he's the player that I would love to see on the Packers. I think he fits what the Packers need.
I disagree.
I think he fits because he can stretch the field, right? He has it, but he also has
true.
He
can stretch the field.
He has the size, right? And so he's someone that I think would be scary to be on the other side of Devontae Adams. I don't know if they pay him, right? Again, they're kind of cap strapped when it comes to wide receivers. So I think the Packers are going to draft somebody because they don't have the money really to bring someone else in. But I could see that. I could see him potentially landing on the Jets, right? And that's a place I would have interest in him. Just things like that. But anyways, regardless, he is currently ranked on Fantasy Pros, and I don't really love these rankings. 18. You were damn close. But he's packaged in between Mike Evans and T. Higgins in that range, which I don't hate that range at all. I personally, everyone knows who's seen this, I love T. Higgins. I have T. Higgins much higher than that, but that's beside the point. Kenny Golladay ranked 18 right now. What are we doing with Kenny Golladay, man? Another player who's insanely talented, who has the prototypical size, who's probably going to land in a better situation than what he's currently in. Is he someone we're buying before we see where he lands, or someone we're waiting on it? Because I could totally see the argument where we buy him, right? I could totally see the argument where we buy him before we see where he lands. Because one, if he lands anywhere good, his value is going to skyrocket. And I think regardless, I have a hard time looking at this list and seeing a place where his value doesn't increase, right? Compared to where he's currently at wide receiver 18 with Jared Goff under center on the Lions offense. Anyways, Kenny G, what are we doing, man? Tell the people. What are we thinking?
I just don't think the market's there to sell him.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
At all. And if anything, I mean, he is literally the guy that you can go buy low this year.
Sure. Yeah.
And right now, I mean, like it's another guy where you can plant your flag and be like, hey, because did a guy sink draft capital into him? Yeah. Did he get out of it what he wanted? No. And it's very extremely frustrating thing. The only way you're not really getting him is if the guy, whoever drafted him, had the foresight to be like, hey, I don't think he's going to be a Lion in 2021 after this year.
Yeah.
Then maybe you're maybe in a little bit more of a pickle. But if you're looking to upgrade at receiver, and you got either draft capital that you really don't care about because you're in win now mode, or you have just a situation where you might be able to package 2-for-1 type of thing, trade 2 younger guys or 2 up and comers for a guy that is going to get paid as a top receiver. It's not the end of I mean, it's a great time to do it. And the thing is, people are going to say landing spot, but we've already had a lot of new head coaches that have never been head coaches get head coaching jobs. And we're about to see a quarterback carousel that is unlike any that we've ever seen. So
it's, true, man. It's honestly
it's hard
crazy.
to say, it's hard to say like, oh, this offense is going to be awesome. Like at that point, you got to look at the coaching staff and go, do I buy like the coaching staff? All right, let me get into this player and go from there. I mean, personally, I don't think Kenny Golladay really fits and again, it has to fit your team.
Yeah.
If you just went 2-11 or whatever, and you are picking first in the draft, no, it doesn't make sense to go to go unless you've had Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, and then all the other broken guys.
Yeah.
Saquon, McCaffrey, like all the broken guys.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, but even then, I like Golladay. I think he's a stud.
I'll tell you this, and this fits exactly what you're saying. If I just had a successful season, if I made the playoffs, made it late into the playoffs, I'm waiting for the NFL draft. And I think you and I already talked about this a little bit a couple episodes ago, but I'm waiting until the NFL draft. And I think the pick 109, right? If I have the 109, the 110, or anything after that, I'm waiting for that pick to come up. I'm seeing who's who's on the board. And if I think it's tough to say, but Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith are likely going to be gone. Right, likely going to be gone. Then you have this next tier of Jalen Waddle.
If they're not, I want to join your league.
I know, what the hell are these guys doing? But then between quarterbacks and running backs and tight end and Kyle Pitts have already been taken probably. You have this tier of Rashad Bateman, Jalen Waddle, Rondale Moore. Those are my next tier of wide receivers. And if you're sitting there in this moment, and depending on where these guys landed, I'm sure there's a team out there that just wants one of these guys, that's absolutely in love with them. And if you're sitting there at that 109 spot, I would rather take Kenny Golladay over there, probably, depending on your roster. If you just almost won a championship, Kenny Golladay is probably sitting there in a new roster that we know where he's going to fit. That's when I'm making that move. Like, hey, man, I know you probably want this pick. Send me Kenny G, right? Kenny G, who's still not even that old. Right, he's not like 30 plus years old, who has the physical talent for it. He's gonna probably get paid somewhere. As long as he doesn't stay on the Lions, that's what I'm gonna do. Right, that's what I'm gonna do. Is in that range of that second tier of wide receivers, I'd take Kenny G over him. And then if your roster almost made it to the playoffs, well, chances are your roster just got that much better, right, with Kenny Golladay, and you're gonna really make a push for a championship. That's what I would do. And if I have Kenny G, I'm holding him definitely. With all these guys, I'm holding all of these guys until I see where they land. There's none of these guys that we're about to mention, wide receivers, that I foresee a change of scenario where their value plummets so drastically that you should get rid of them now. I just don't. And
here's my question. What situations, what teams do you go, I don't want X player to go here because that sucks for like his just productivity?
I honestly think the two worst situations are the Washington football team and the Patriots. And those are the two. And the only reason I'm saying that is because of quarterback, right? I'm looking at it right now and I'm saying, man, the Patriots are, and maybe that just made my own point, right? Maybe by saying, I mean, Washington and the Patriots, those are still two pretty damn good landing spots, right? They with decent systems, with likely upgraded quarterback situations coming into next year. Might not be the end of the world, right? So I think you just hit it on the head, man. Really, where is a landing spot that I would hate so much that I would want to trade now? Because that's what you have to make that decision. If you're trading a player now, it's because there's that spectrum of outcomes, and you think it's going to be worse than that. The downside is not equal to the potential upside. And I don't see that with any of these places where you have to trade.
Really, the only place I think is wide receiver purgatory
Yeah.
at this point in time. Texans, if Desean Watson gets traded, obviously.
For sure.
The Bears, I still think is
Okay.
wide receiver purgatory.
Yeah, for sure.
You could say the Patriots, but I believe in that coaching staff more,
Sure.
where I'm not as inclined to say the Patriots.
We just had
I think the Bears is the worst at this current time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially because they're about to re-sign Mitch Trubisky and just make it 10 times worse. It's going to happen, man. Chris Godwin. Can we just, first of all, acknowledge Juju, Allen Robinson, Kenny Golladay, Chris Godwin are the 4 guys we've talked about so far. That's insane. This is so sad. Personally, I think he's probably going to be a Buccaneer next season.
That's what I hope so.
Yeah, as a Bucs fan, I'm sure that's exactly what you would like to hear. That's what I think is going to happen because I think they're going to make another Super Bowl push next season as well with Brady. So Chris Godwin's just such a beast, man. He's another one of these wide receivers that I think I don't think he's as talented, in my opinion, as Allen Robinson, but he's pretty damn close. If he's not with Allen, he's very similar player to, in my opinion, a guy who, again, would be an excellent fit for the Ravens, right? Another excellent, larger, red zone, can throw up the ball to him threat, but also possession style wide receiver that's just going to mess with cornerbacks all across the field. Chris Godwin, let me pull up his ranking real fast on Fantasy Pros. They have Chris Godwin as the wide receiver 10 in between Calvin Ridley and Terry McLaurin. I think that's fair. I think that's an excellent place to have him. What do you think, man? I have a hard time giving any actionable advice with Chris Godwin outside of, dude, if you can buy him, go buy him. But I don't know if you can buy him right now. He's expensive as hell, right? He's probably out of this list, probably the most expensive outside of Allen Robinson, probably.
I'd say those two are probably going to demand similar prices.
Yeah.
Fun fact, both Penn State receivers.
Oh, there you go. That's right.
Both Penn State receivers.
There you go. Right.
I hope Godwin's a buck for my own selfish purposes. I think he's going to be a buck because I honestly think the Bucs are just going to run it back.
Yeah, I think so.
I really even think that I don't think Leonard Fournette as much, but I really do think the Bucs are just going to try to run it back.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady, I think Gronk is just going to be like, dude, let's do this again, man. We just made it to the Super Bowl. Why not?
Gronk's in. I think AB's in. I don't think AB wants to play with a different quarterback. I think he only wants to play with Tom at this point.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
And I really hope they just bring back Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
Can it be? It's just you can't really replace Chris Godwin, man.
Yeah.
You can fill roles, but I mean, it's tough. So
I agree.
I love Chris Godwin. I don't think he's going to be as prolific as a fantasy candidate during this Tom Brady run, just because there are so many mouths to feed.
Sure.
But there are going to be some games where he just explodes.
Interesting.
And I think that's what this Bucs offense is you're just going to have some games. It's just going to be a Mike Evans game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just going to be Chris Godwin,
Yeah. But again,
no. Go ahead.
I just, and maybe you just made that point right there where, yes, I mean, he's only 24 years old. He's ranked as a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. And maybe he's a nice little, I hesitant to say this because I don't like selling good players, right? Especially, again, talent over everything on this channel. But maybe now's the time to sell a little high on him. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, the thing is, if you can sell Chris Godwin in a package and get like a Justin Jefferson or a CeeDee Lamb back, then I understand.
Yeah, excellent.
But unless if you're getting a top tier guy back, I mean, if you trade like even Chris Godwin, like I think Chris Godwin and Saquon have very comparable values.
Interesting. I definitely have Saquon just because of the scarcity of the position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think but that's the caliber of player you need to be going after if you're going to be trading away Chris Godwin.
You're looking to
you're not unless if you're on a terrible team and Chris Godwin's all you got, then obviously sell for what you can and see what you can do with the rest.
But if you're honestly, on like the cusp of a championship and you're like, hey man, I'll send you Chris Godwin and some middle tier fantasy running back for Saquon, absolutely. Yeah, I don't hate that move.
Exactly. So if you're going to sell Chris Godwin, you're shooting for you're going to the moon.
If you could sell Chris Godwin and Austin Eckler, right? Austin Eckler, that's a move I'd make. Sure.
You would do Chris Godwin for Austin Eckler straight up?
No. Sorry, Chris Godwin and Austin Eckler for Saquon is a move I'd make.
Gotcha.
Yes. There's some truth out there.
You got to be going. You got to be hitting a home run if you're selling Godwin.
Absolutely.
If you're selling Godwin or Allen Robinson, you better be going for a big boy, or you must be getting a haul.
Yeah.
And the thing is if I'm going to be selling a big boy, I have a hard time selling a big boy because it's like I can sell other pieces, maybe get this and there.
Yeah.
And go from there.
And we've talked about the importance of cornerstone pieces, right? And a lot of the time when you downgrade from that, you lose value, right? Or you're not getting the same. Well, in theory, these two players, but 2 years from now, that cornerstone player, chances are still balling. And those two guys you got, we don't really know. This is not necessarily the case with Chris Godwin. Strategically, that's just where I sit. Let's talk about a player you have on your roster, though, Will Fuller, who was having a career year without DeAndre Hopkins, but he has this stigma around him, right?
The Discord channel hates Will Fuller.
They hate him, man, because he's injury prone, man. He was just doing all these PEDs to even play in the NFL. I don't think that's the case. There was a lot of rumors coming in to this season where he was switched up his training regimen to promote, flexibility and recovery and his, own personal health. And I think we saw that pay off, right? I really do. And had he not had the PED suspension, I really do think we'd be having a totally different conversation right now, especially with him going into free agency.
Totally.
26 years old. You own him right now. Again, if he stays with the Texans and Desean Watson's there, that's a tough situation. Right? That's a tough situation, but I don't think he stays with the Colts again or with the Texans. Again, the Texans are cap strapped, right? They need.
I got two places I really want to see him as the owner. Obviously, the Packers. It was rumored. The Packers, the Texans wanted a second-round pick for him. They weren't willing. Trade didn't get done. Would love to see him with the Packers.
Sure.
So I think that's the home run threat that they're. I mean, that's a guy that takes the top off.
Yeah.
Because I think he's one of the best home run hitters outside of Tyreek Hill.
Okay, I don't hate it. Yeah.
Only other place I'd rather see him and would be ecstatic if it happened, especially because I think teams are going to be on discount mode on him. Yeah. I think NFL teams are going to be on discount mode on him, just like the Discord chat's on discount mode on him. Like, I'm paying a lot for him. He's popping.
Oh yeah.
Doing all the stupid stuff and getting hurt all the time. I ain't buying the Rams, dude.
Oh yeah, man. I could totally see that. Because let's talk about Matthew Stafford's cannon for an arm. Then let's look at those wide receivers outside of Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, who are more middle of the field guys, right? Hit him at the line of scrimmage, hit him on those slant routes. They don't really have a field stretcher. And you add Will Fuller to that roster, man. And they're recreating that championship roster where they had Brandon Cooks as that wide receivers could stretch the field. I like that. I didn't even think of that landing spot. I love that landing spot.
Dude, as soon as I saw Matthew Stafford go there, I was like, if not the Packers, please the Rams. Please the Rams. Please the Rams.
Now, the Rams are another team that are very cap strapped, but again, I don't think Will Fuller of this list of guys we're talking about is going to be that expensive.
He's going to be that's the thing. He is going to be a cheap guy because he's not going to command what Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, all of them are going to command. Yeah. It's just, and I think what the Bucs are going to do with Chris Godwin, so young, I think they're going to backload his contract. I think they're going to backload it maybe with a big guarantee up front. But when you backload the contract, you're like, we know he's what, 20, you say 24?
Who, Godwin? Yeah, 24 years old, man.
He's 24. You pay him a 4-year deal. He's 28, 29 by the time that is. Just backload the contract. Yeah. Because then you can have Mike Evans get paid now, Godwin's get paid later, and you can still keep them together.
Yeah.
I don't think Will Fuller's going to command
way. Especially not after the PED incident. Yeah.
He just shot himself in the foot with that. It was the worst possible timing from it, but hey, it is what it is.
Maybe he lands in a better fantasy spot or a better NFL
my whole
spot.
Thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like, dude. No one's willing to get this guy. I'm like, dude, Will Fuller is good. Like, if you go back and watch Will Fuller at Notre Dame, dude was awesome.
And he played amazing this season, man. He played really, really well.
Awesome.
But it was the PED.
The thing is,
man, he was
I got him so late in our startup draft.
No one wants him, man. Yeah.
No one wanted him, and I was like, dude, I'll take Will Fuller.
Yeah.
And so he fell to me. And here's the thing. Here's the rule with Will Fuller. If he's on the field, he's scoring points.
Yeah.
That's his entire NFL career. If he's on the field, he's scoring points. And as soon as I saw it as him being the number one receiver, still scoring points without Deshaun Watson, I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm speechless. I'm like, dude, this is it. I mean, the only other ideal world is if wherever Deshaun Watson goes, Will Fuller follows him.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, that would be super cool. Yeah.
Deshaun Watson gets traded to the Jets. Jets sign Will Fuller. Goes to Miami because I know that's speculated. He goes there. If Will Fuller goes to Indianapolis, or not, Deshaun Watson goes to Indianapolis, he goes there. That is my dream, is that he sticks together with Deshaun Watson. But if not, give me Aaron Rodgers. Or give me Matthew Stafford and the Rams, man.
Absolutely. So, for everyone watching this, I think I need to emphasize the amount of enthusiasm that we just talked about Will Fuller, and just talk about how much of a buy low candidate he is right now.
God.
Because as soon as he signs anywhere outside of the Texans without Deshaun Watson, I think his fantasy value is going to skyrocket. And that owner right now, the Will Fuller owner, probably doesn't have the same perspective as Noah does. He's probably sitting there, man, I got this guy. He's been injured for me for the past couple of years. We don't even know who his quarterback's going to be. He's now struggling with PEDs, so suspended. I'll bet you their perception's low. He's a guy you can get incredibly on the cheap right now. There's guys ranked over him that I would trade straight up for him, right? It's kind of tough. I personally am not the biggest fan of guys like OBJ, Tyler Lockett, and Adam Thielen are the three wide receivers ahead of him. And I think you could make arguments for any of those guys. And I think I'd lean more towards Will Fuller. And I don't know if that's crazy to say, but that's probably where I'm sitting on that front. He's a player, again, that you can go acquire on the cheap as well. And because everyone has that perception, right? Everybody does. Zig, when everyone else is zagging, you'll come thanking us later. That is for sure.
I think Will Fuller on this list is a huge buy. I mean, his best football, you're taking a risk on injury.
Sure. Yeah.
His floor is extremely low because he is a not dressed up player. He could just be inactive.
Yeah.
Which is duds. That doesn't do anything for your fantasy team. But when he is a healthy receiver, do you know what he was through the season, wide receiver ranked wise?
I can pull that up right now, actually.
Because I want to say he was probably at least top 12.
I'll pull it up.
Pretty dang close to it,
Yeah.
And so it's like when he's on the field, you're getting a number one receiver. He is a number one receiver. Yeah. I think he's better than Juju, talent-wise, just straight up. I think he's better than Juju. I think he's better than Kenny Golladay, and I think he's the third best receiver when healthy.
All right. So weeks 1 through 12, so prior to him being suspended, in PPR leagues, he was the wide receiver 8 on the season. I mean, he was, again, Deshaun Watson. He was the only show in town, right? Again, that was the upside. But I could easily see him replicating that elsewhere as well, right? And he's a guy you need to go buy now. He's a guy you need to watch this episode. It's barely February.
Buy before free agency.
Absolutely. Buy him now, because as soon as he gets that moved, he's going to be trending. So buy Will Fuller now. I love it. Let's wrap this up, man. We got guys, Curtis Samuel. I'm going to say it. This is what, again, another guy who on your dynasty team. I think he's a Panther next season. I really do. And I think that's great for his dynasty value. I really do. The Panthers have cap space, right? And they definitely could use the help when it comes to wide receiver. I think he's back with them because I kind of think he finally unlocked his potential. Not his full potential necessarily in the NFL, but he's starting to head that direction where they're getting him they're giving him more carries, right? They're starting to use him in different aspects of the game, not just as a deep field threat, right? They've been talking about how for years now, everyone's been saying how they need Curtis Samuel to get the ball, right? The Panthers have been saying that for years. Matt Rule and Joe Brady are coming in with this, new offensive scheme. And as we saw this season develop, Curtis Samuel just became better and better as a fantasy weapon. And I think he stays, man. I really do think he stays. So if he's another guy, him and Will Fuller are 2 buys for me. They're definitely 2 buys for me. I do still think
my team.
Yeah, 2 players that you can buy. So I won't be buying them because Noah's going to ask for way too much at this point because he knows we all know their upside, right? Curtis Samuel's another guy I'm trying to acquire now. another player I'm trying to acquire now, and he's someone that I think just stays with the Panthers, and I think that's good for him. I do
And
think
if
that's good for him.
not, I hope he gets on a team that knows how to use him.
Yeah.
A team that would know how to use. I think he would be a great gadget player for the Packers. I'm really hoping either Will Fuller or Curtis Samuel can get on the Packers on a discount deal. That's my dream.
Interesting.
But if not, I'm not opposed to him going to Carolina.
Yeah,
And
especially
I really
if they upgrade
think
quarterbacks.
Carolina.
Yeah, especially if they upgrade a quarterback situation.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm really curious about.
So
And that's what weighs.
I really,
Go
really
ahead.
hope he stays. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you here, but I hope he stays because in the second half of the season, week 7 through 17, right? Once again, new coaching staff came in, COVID offseason. He's only 24 years old. In week 7 through 17, Curtis Samuel was the wide receiver 12 in fantasy. He was a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy during the second half of the season for all the reasons we just mentioned. Right. So that's why I want him to stay in Carolina, because I think they figured it out, especially if they upgrade the quarterback. I think they figured it out. And I don't see that really changing with Christian McCaffrey comes back. Right. I don't think that changes. Yeah.
When you lose, when you're starting a new offense,
Yeah.
and you lose a stud like a Saquon,
Yeah.
or like a Christian McCaffrey,
Yeah.
as a play caller, as an offensive installer, it makes you be like, well, what other studs do we have and how can we get them the ball?
Absolutely.
It makes you think outside of let's just get Christian the ball.
Yeah.
I need to get Christian the ball. Let me get Saquon the ball. I want to get Saquon the ball. So I think a lot of times offenses it may not help Christian's value or Saquon's value because their volume might decrease over time.
Sure.
Or when they return. But I think from a football offensive perspective, I think you will see an increase in just like how volatile those offenses can be in comparison to when they are handcuffed and kind of almost ball and chained by their studs,
Sure. Yeah.
So I think Curtis Samuel, they were allowed to get creative with him, and I think Joe Brady is just like, I mean, Curtis Samuel was almost a 5-star running back coming out of high school.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like he is still not anymore. I wouldn't say he's new, but he is still new to the receiver position. The nuances and everything. I just think he's just getting on the cusp of what is going to be perfect. Yeah. I sold Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is a stud.
Yeah, who you love. Yeah.
And Ronald Jones, who I also love, mainly to get Curtis Samuel on my team.
Interesting. Yeah. Who else? Curtis Samuel and
I got Christian Kirk. Who was just exactly your reaction.
Cool.
I have Kyler Murray, and Larry Fitzgerald is probably retiring.
Absolutely.
So I go the upside for anyone else is not there. For me, and a potential bye week stack is there.
Yeah,
but
I like it. Last guy we're going to talk about, because again, go buy Curtis Sam if you will. If you ask any fantasy player last season or now, say, hey man, where did Curtis Samuel finish at the end of the last season from week 7 to 17? No one's going to tell you top 12, right? No one. That's not the perception of him, and I think that's something that he can sustain going down the road, right? So someone to go buy, right? Someone to go buy right now. Corey Davis. Throw that out there. He had an excellent season, right? During that same window, week 7 through 17, he was still the wide receiver 20, right? So the Titans did not pick up his 5th-year option. He's going to land somewhere else. He's someone who realistically, if the Ravens are looking for someone cheap, I could see him land there. I don't think that's the best fit for him, but for whatever reason, in the back of my head, I just see him and I'm like, well, I could see him landing there into the Jets.
I think one of my favorite landing spots for him would be the Chargers.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's an excellent situation. Yeah.
He gets to play, along Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, gets to be maybe the 2A, 2B option.
Sure.
With, in terms of the passing game. Doesn't have to take on the number 1 receiving role. Gets to play with a team that likes to throw the ball, wants to throw the ball.
Yeah.
But just gets to kind of still get to dominate one-on-one opportunities.
Yeah. I could also see him landing potentially with the Chiefs as well. I think he's another cheaper guy.
Yes, another great.
Or the Colts. I think the Colts are another situation the Colts have so much cap space. Maybe they go after a bigger wide receiver, but I think he fits what they need, Right? I think he fits what they need. They have Michael Pittman Jr. on one side. They got Paris Campbell coming out the slot. They have Jonathan Taylor, the God, coming out of the backfield, who will just dominate everybody, of course. And then you have Corey Davis. I think he fits that wide receiving core very nicely.
I think those three guys are probably three of my favorite buys this year.
The last three.
Season.
Yeah.
Because they're affordable.
Yep. You don't have to give up your whole team to get them.
They're affordable because they have a stigma behind them.
Yeah.
But they're all three of them, in my opinion, their best football is still ahead of them.
Sure.
It's not in the rearview mirror. I think Corey Davis is going to be solid for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Curtis Samuel is going to be a gadget guy that is going to be he fits what the NFL is transforming into.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Will Fuller is just a guy that has an injury stigma behind it. And if you're willing to hedge injury, to be able to get a legitimate wide receiver one when healthy, so worth it. Like I think personally, Will Fuller is worth like the 8th pick.
Okay, I don't have him that high. I think that's a little rich, but I understand the upside.
Like if he were to go with the Packers, I would be like, yeah, Will Fuller for like the 8th pick, and maybe Will Fuller and maybe a next year second or a later drop back to like honestly like the late second round type of thing. I see that, but that's just you. If you're looking, especially if you're a team that's picking at the end of round 1, you're not looking. A rookie isn't going to make or break your team.
Yeah. That's true.
Will Fuller could put you over the top of what you're looking for when it comes championship week, and he's got cake matchup, or he's the number 2 receiver for the Packers, or X, Y, and Z. But that's just.
Yeah. I'll tell you this right now.
On the boomer bust.
I'll tell you this right now. We're gonna get a lot of hate for that take. That take right there because of the general stigma. Right, the general.
It blows my mind. It blows my.
I can't even imagine you would trade a first-round pick for. I see it right now, man. I'm immediately unsubscribing from this channel. I see that right now, but I would not be surprised if in a year from now that take makes a lot of sense. Right? I would not be surprised if we're looking back on it, being like, "Wow, yeah, no, Will Fuller's balling out. I wish I could have traded it for that."
When you look at his football, just his general football,
absolutely.
The only negative, is his injuries.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's injury prone until they're not, man. That's I'm just gonna throw that out there, right? Keenan Allen, Frank Gore, 2 guys that struggle with injuries early, and now they're just looking at consistency. All right, we're gonna wrap it up real fast with some quick hitting names. Guys like T.Y. Hilton, A.J. Green, Antonio Brown, Sammy Watkins, and John Ross. Just some names I want to throw out there. Out of that list, the only player I have any interest in is John Ross. Because I don't think he's gonna be with the Bengals next season. He had a really, really weird end of season. I dropped him and then picked him back up in our Dynasty League, and no one wanted him, right? Of course, he's probably sitting on your waiver wire right now as we speak. We all know how fast he is, and we all saw him transform from being the fast guy to something more than that. That was what he was aspiring to do. He started to play really well at the beginning of, I think it was 2 seasons ago. Where he started coming into his own, struggled with injury. And then at halfway through last year, when he got hurt, there was rumors that John Ross started playing cornerback. And then he got hurt in practice. That was the rumor. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's going to switch positions. I have no interest in him in Dynasty. And that's fine. Maybe that's the reality of the situation. Later reports come out that John Ross was playing cornerback just because they needed someone to fill in. It was more of a stand-in position than him actually changing positions in the NFL. The whole context was really, really strange. The point I'm trying to make is you can get John Ross for nothing, right? You can get John Ross for absolutely nothing. You can get him for a late 3rd round pick. You can probably pick him up off your waiver wire right now. You could probably trade Fab to get John Ross right now because no one really wants him. And I think he's another one of these guys where, all these different NFL teams need a wide receiver. Maybe he doesn't pan out. It's entirely possible. The man was a former 1st-round pick. He has the speed. I do personally like the physical ability, and I could see one of these teams, again, everyone's probably exhausted of us talking about the Packers, but a team like the Packers who are so cap-strapped they can't really bring in a bigger name. They're just like, okay, we need anybody, right? We need anybody to come in. Maybe he fits that role, right? I don't know. I'm just saying he's a player that the risk is so minimal that the reward is worth a bench stash for me. That's how I see him. So John Ross is on my roster. Just want to throw that there. Maybe he turns into nothing. Maybe he is a boom bust player you can trust on bye weeks. Maybe something more than that. Probably not. Just throwing that out there, guys. Just always keep your eyes on these lower tier guys. Outside of that, man, T.Y. Hilton, A.J. Green, Antonio Brown, Sammy Watkins, John Ross are the other names I wanted to mention. I don't really care about most of them. Do you have any interest in any of these guys? Maybe Antonio Brown if he's back next season. If you're in a win now mode, anyone in that combination you'd be interested in?
Antonio Brown for sure, especially if you are in the win now mode, because again,
Yeah,
I think some of his best football is still ahead of him.
sure.
I
Yeah,
don't think Antonio Brown's even close to being done. And a guy that legitimately is T.Y. Hilton, I think the way people perceive Will Fuller is actually what T.Y. Hilton is.
interesting. Injury prone, washed, old. You think that's actually what he is? Okay.
But I don't think Will Fuller and T.Y. Hilton was so much fun. He played at FIU, and I remember watching them in the bowl game, and I was like, dude, who is this guy?
He's had a good career, man. He's had a
great career.
Yeah.
Great career. I actually like him, especially if he's back. I actually like him as a bench stash.
Interesting.
Personally, because again, another guy. It's just like I like having veteran bench. If you're in a win, you're like, I can compete this year. I like having the T.Y. Hiltons of the world to stash because if they're healthy, they can make plays.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit of a risk to have them on your roster, but I don't think he wants to be a Colt. I don't think he's going to be a Colt.
I'm curious to see what happens. I'm curious to see what they do with quarterback right now. Jacob Eason is their only quarterback under contract. So I think they're
gonna try to go after a big fish. I don't know who.
I hope
I don't know who, and I
that would
don't
be
know what.
so much fun to watch, man.
But they're literally a quarterback away. That's the thing. That's why like Dak to the Colts is like a dream come true for everyone except for the Cowboys involved.
Yeah, exactly. Can we make that happen? Can we call somebody? Because that would be fantastic for my fantasy team, for everyone's fantasy, for the NFL.
Dude, my fantasy team.
Exactly. You own half the Colts wide receivers, man.
I did see. Rumor has it. I saw on Twitter. Zac Ertz. Are we going over tight ends?
We can just briefly. I mean, guys that I have written down:
Zac Ertz and Hunter Henry. Really?
Yeah, Juju Smith and Robert Tonyan are the only two other guys as well. So those four. I am a big Juju Smith fan, but it's tough to see the targets happening. But we'll see without Corey Davis. Maybe he sees more targets. Hunter Henry, I think, stays with the Chargers, realistically speaking. I don't know, man. Is there any of these guys that you want to highlight before we wrap it up?
I sent it to Zach because he's the Zac Ertz owner.
Yeah.
I guess Colts are interested in Ertz.
Interesting.
Which is a fantastic fit.
Yeah.
Reunited with Frank Reich, they love using their tight ends.
Oh yeah.
Would, in my opinion, immediately be their best tight end.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think he'd be excited. I think Zac Ertz past couple of years, has kind of seen the writing on the wall and has been like, dude, you guys suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Interesting. But no, I mean, Zac Ertz, another great buy low guy right now, in my opinion.
Interesting.
I don't know how low you can get him for, but I feel like he's got 2 to 3 good seasons left.
Yeah. I like it, guys. All right, let's wrap it up, man. Again, thank you, everybody watching this. This was awesome. Noah, thanks. This was a good time. Free agents, it's always a good conversation. Go buy Will Fuller and Curtis Samuel. If you take anything away, go buy those players now. You'll be thanking us later. You don't have to trade a first-round pick for Will Fuller. That's what Noah would pay. You can get him for so much cheaper. I know you can, especially if you wait till closer to the draft and sell your draft picks then. It's going to be a good time, man. I can almost guarantee it. That all being said, join the Discord channel, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you guys next time very, very, very soon. We appreciate you all. God, man, this episode's almost over. I can't keep it together. I'm tired. Peace.